Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. This is Bettor Off Dead, Friday, August 22nd. I'm going to try to get right into it, man. Hopefully you guys join me for I did a college football, a bit of a preview show last night, so that's on the YouTube channel right now. I should probably get it up on the audio, but Descript is going to limit me eventually unless I start paying even more money for them, so we'll see what I want to do with that. So go check that out, though, if you're interested. Just stupid predictions based on what we think who we think are gonna be like the conference winners and maybe the champion in college football. I will probably be back tonight, by the way, with a week 0 college football show, which it'll be a quicker one because there really aren't that many games. But I'm probably gonna have one play for tomorrow as college football actually officially begins tomorrow. Yesterday on the show here, we went 2-0. 2 very easy winners, actually. We had the Chicago Sky plus 15, plus 15.5. They won the game outright. They were never losing the game by more than 7. And, yeah, just easy wire-to-wire cover, and they wound up winning the game outright. So that was a good call on that one. And then we had the Houston Astros, which just seemed like a lot of professional bettors were not buying that and more buying into the fact that Houston wasn't able to score at all recently. But I was looking at the specific situation. I said Houston was going to get it done. They did. They scored 7 runs. They scored more runs last night than they scored in the prior 7 games combined, which is ridiculous. Easy win, 7-2 yesterday for the Astros. They're still the better team, man. I mean, it's just at some point it's like, come on. So we'll move on to today. We do have WNBA, which I'm not going to give out anything in the WNBA here today. Minnesota at Indiana. Debatably is somewhat of an interesting matchup, I guess, in that Indiana is now in another injured player theory spot because Sophie Cunningham is now injured, and I believe she's not coming back, and she got intentionally injured in their previous game against Connecticut. So Indiana might step it up just because she's out, so you might get a bigger effort out of Indiana here. Whereas Minnesota, I'm not sure how much they really have left to play for because they're pretty much guaranteed the one seed in the West at this point almost. But they may show up just because it is Indiana. Based on the name, it's still Indiana. But Caitlin Clark is still out. They keep pushing her timetable back. I really don't think she's coming back either. So Indiana, they're in trouble, man. I mean, they might miss the playoffs, and even if they make the playoffs, it's like, what players are they even going to have back at this point? So I don't know. Minnesota's also on a back-to-back today because they played a tough game yesterday at Atlanta. So this really isn't a very good spot for Minnesota. 3 straight road games, losing the first 2 of them, but to New York and Atlanta, the top 2 teams in the East. It's a tough spot for them, man. Tough scheduling spot. Indiana is returning home from that Connecticut game, but they do have a day off. I think 1 day off, maybe 2. Minnesota, actually, let me look at how jammed their schedule is here really quick, because I think I would have to lean to Indiana in this game. They're playing 3 games in 4 days. Minnesota is all on the road, so pretty bad spot for them. So I would have to lean to Indiana despite everything that's going on there. Minnesota's up from 5 to 7 now on the road. I think the only way that I could look to play that game would be to take the points with Indiana. I think they may step it up the first game without Cunningham there. And they've still been playing pretty well without Clark, so we'll see what happens there. Seattle is at Dallas. Dallas is coming off a pretty big game where they were in a close game against L.A., man, and Beckers for Dallas, their rookie there out of UConn, she set some sort of rookie record, I think. I think she scored like 44 points in that game or something ridiculous, and they still wound up losing on a buzzer beater, which I think that could carry over into this game, man. They're returning home from a road trip, although I know it's only from going to Vegas and L.A., and they are facing Seattle, who they're probably going to be focused on Seattle, because basically any of these other teams in the West, they're all like contending to make playoff spots here. So Dallas may not be totally unfocused here, but I think it is still a bad spot after the way they lost that game. Seattle does need to win because they need to actually get themselves into the playoffs here. They're coming off beating Chicago barely, so they might have a little bit of momentum now carrying out on the road as they continue their road trip here. I would probably have to lean to Seattle in that one, but you're laying a price for it. It's up from 6.5 to 8.5 here. So, I mean, it's a bit much of a price to lay on the road there, so I probably wouldn't do it, although they are definitely the better team, and their record really kind of undersells Seattle. I think they're better than the record actually looks. And then Golden State at Phoenix. This is a quick road revenge spot, as Phoenix just won at Golden State a couple of games ago, and they're returning home from a road trip, although I know they're returning from Vegas back home, which is not really a huge leg of the journey there, but it was a 3-game road trip. Returning home, you kind of get distracted. Potentially, you have stuff to do back at home. Because they just beat Golden State on the road, they might not take them as seriously this time. Golden State needs the game a little bit more, as Phoenix is pretty much guaranteed to make the playoffs here. Golden State still needs to win, I think, to be able to try to get one of these playoff spots here. So they are probably going to be a little bit more motivated for that reason. They're starting a road trip after these 2 losses. So I would slightly lean to Golden State. Phoenix up from 5 to 6.5, though, so the line has moved towards Phoenix. Go figure. One other thing I will say about Minnesota, by the way, is Minnesota is actually without Collier, who was like, she was going to be MVP, man. She's like the best player in the entire league, and she's been out for almost a month now, and Minnesota is still far and away like the best record in the league, even playing without the best player in the league. That's how good Minnesota is this year. So that's insane as well. Good relative to the rest of the WNBA at least. We'll go to Major League Baseball here now. Yeah, I was gonna say if this website behaves itself here. We got a full slate of baseball here, man. I'm going to give out 3 baseball plays. We got to figure out how to break this thing down. I'm going to give out a play in this horrendous Colorado-Pittsburgh game, so I'll wait until the best bet segment, which I forgot. I'll throw the rundown graphic up here. Even though everything is the rundown, man, but it is a baseball-specific graphic at least. Washington at Philadelphia. Washington does have a disadvantage scheduling-wise because they played yesterday and Philadelphia did not. Philadelphia actually staying at home too, I believe, because they just swept Seattle. They split a series with Washington before that, so they did just see Washington as well. And I think we have a matchup between 2 pitchers that I believe actually faced each other during that other series too, which is somewhat interesting. Washington, because they played yesterday, they're at a little bit of a rest disadvantage here. They used a bunch of their relief pitchers, and their bullpen is already the worst of the 2. So the bullpen situation, definitely not good for Washington. Philadelphia also has the better offense. What about the starting pitching? Well, Cade Cavalli, you could definitely argue that he's the better of these 2 pitchers. I mean, he's the younger pitcher of the 2, probably has a higher ceiling for Washington here. 2.2 ERA, 1.29 whip is a bit high. It's in a small sample, but he is bad on the road, 7.2 ERA on the road. But again, he's only made 3 starts, and they keep kind of ramping up his pitch count a little bit, or ramping up his innings at least. Although he was just more efficient with his pitches last time out. He actually went 7 shutout innings, 7 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts against this Philadelphia team, although it was in Washington. Maybe he had a little bit of an extra advantage because Philly had never seen him before, and now that they do, maybe they'll do better against him. But that was a really good start for Cavalli, so maybe he will do well again here. It's very difficult to say, I think. I do think I probably prefer him over Walker, though, as far as these starters. So against Philly, Cavalli, he has more than just that one start against them, I think. Maybe not, because we see 7 hits here. But in 26 at-bats, 5 strikeouts, no walks, 269 average, 615 OPS. So I think that is basically just that one start. So Cavalli, I mean, he does have pretty good numbers against Philly. But again, they have seen him now, and they just saw him recently, so they might be able to hit him better this time out. Taijuan Walker, pitching for Philadelphia. Decent numbers this year, 3.34 ERA, 1.29 whip, again, too high. I think both of these guys have basically the same whip. Walker is actually worse at home with a 4.12 ERA. He's started pitching deeper into games recently, though. He's gone at least 6 innings in every start this month, giving up only 3 runs combined over those 3 starts. Doesn't strike out a lot of guys, 9 strikeouts, so his walk rate has gone down. So he's not a walker right now, giving up 3 walks this month, 1.45 ERA this month, including a start against Washington, which I believe was that start where he lost to Cavalli, but he didn't do badly. He went 6 2/3, 2 earned runs allowed, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, not a great ratio. But again, Walker, not really a strikeout guy. But he does do fine against Washington, more than fine, in 82 career at-bats, 195 batting average allowed, 551 OPS. The only really bad stat here is that he is a walker versus them, 11 strikeouts to 10 walks. So, I mean, I probably slightly prefer Cavalli with the starting pitching matchup, but I don't think there's any way that you could deal with Washington's bullpen here. We have 88% of tickets, only 87% of the cash on Philly, and they're up to minus 180. I don't really see any way that you could play a Philadelphia money line, really, in this case, even though they do have the rest advantage. You could think about playing maybe the run line full game on Philadelphia because they should have an advantage later in the game with the bullpen. The bullpen's here and with the rest advantage here. Early in the game, I think Washington has a little bit more of an advantage. I don't know if you would want to look to play Washington like run line in the first 5 or something like that, but sometimes, man, I think the first 5 will go the opposite way of the full game, which is crazy. But with baseball, it's like so discrete, like the difference between starting pitching and bullpen. So the money is coming in on the under for what it's worth here. Totals flipped to 9.5, juice to the under. Of course, we know the last time these two pitchers faced off, it was a 2-0 final. 62% of tickets on the over, 82% of the cash on the under. I don't expect it to be a 2-run game again. I mean, both offenses should do a little bit better this time out because they both saw these pitchers. But I could see the argument for the under, again, that both of these pitchers do have good matchup numbers against these opponents. Could be an under still early in the game, but if you went under, I would limit it to the first 5 innings and not deal with these bullpens, neither of which are actually that good. Red Sox at New York, the Boston Red Sox, my Boston Red Sox. I kind of nailed that game yesterday, man, even though I didn't give it out as a play. I said Yankees probably were the way to lean in the first 5 yesterday, but Red Sox bullpen advantage and full game, which both of those wound up being correct, as the Red Sox were down 3-2 at the end of 5, and then they wound up winning the game 6-3. Roman Anthony, man, one of the best young hitters in baseball. Hasn't really been hitting for power, but he did jack one out of the yard. Very hitter-friendly park in Yankee Stadium for left-handed bats. His home run last night I don't think would have gone out in Fenway. Probably one of the only parks where it wouldn't go out, but it did easily in Yankee Stadium with the short right field there. So, I mean, yeah, kudos to him, and that was a huge 2-run home run to extend the Red Sox lead to what was the final, 6-3. Red Sox have actually won 6 out of 7 against the Yankees this year. Red Sox, they step it up to play the Yankees, man, even though the Red Sox have not been the better team over the last few years. They've played pretty well in their matchups against the Yankees. Will they do it again today? I don't know. I mean, the Red Sox, I would say, still have a bullpen advantage. Both bullpens saw a decent amount of usage yesterday. Red Sox used 5 relief pitchers yesterday. The Yankees used at least 4, I think. They used 5 as well. So a lot of bullpen usage, both sides. Red Sox do have the better bullpen. Yankees have the better offense. Starting pitching is interesting because current form is kind of different than which of these pitchers is actually better. Brian Bayo is pitching for the Red Sox, and I don't think he's generally the better of these two starters. He has been pitching better more recently, though. 3.23 ERA, 1.26 whip is still too high. I mean, I always had a problem with it. Like, his ERA was always low, and he was always getting ground balls and stuff, but his whip was always way, way high, but he's gotten that down a little bit too. He's kind of gotten his walks under control, so that's better. He is slightly worse on the road, 3.6 ERA. But again, he's been a lot better recently. He started going way deeper into games. He had a 2.79 ERA in July. This month of 3 starts, 3.5 ERA. One bad start against San Diego in the mix there, which was his one road start. But generally, pretty good. He did face off against the Yankees in June at Fenway, and he went 7 shutout innings against them with 8 strikeouts, 3 walks. So he did pretty well in that game against the Yankees. Overall, against the Yankees, he has decent numbers in 91 career at-bats, 31 strikeouts. Only 31 strikeouts, but 11 walks is too high. But 253 batting average, 729 OPS. So including this year, one of his best starts ever against the Yankees. He's held his own against the Yankees, even back when he wasn't that good. His numbers are not terrible against the Yankees. Yankees have Max Fried pitching, who is still their ace. 3.26 ERA, 1.12 whip. He's been better at home, 2.67 ERA at home. But again, he's really struggled for the last 2 months at this point. In July, he had a 5.54 ERA. This month, a 9 ERA. He's definitely struggling right now. He faced Texas, St. Louis this month. Didn't really do well in those 2 starts, giving up 4 and then 7 earned runs in 5 innings each. St. Louis really a struggling offense recently too, so that's, or at least maybe until even more recently, but they were struggling really badly for a while. Houston kind of has been struggling a bit too, and he didn't really do well against them either. So he's not in good form right now. Max Fried, his numbers were just so good early in the season that he could afford to have 2 months of bad pitching, basically, and still have his numbers look decent. His numbers are good against the Red Sox, though, in 40 at-bats, 15-6 strikeout walk ratio, 175 average allowed, 677 OPS. So he has done well against the Red Sox generally. He did face them once this year, went 7 innings at Fenway. This might have been the game against Bayo, actually, because the Red Sox won that game 2-0. Fried did well, 2 earned runs allowed, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks, but got no run support in that game. Yeah, that was Bayo. So it's a rematch now between Bayo and Fried here. So maybe a little bit of an extra motivational edge on the side of the Yankees here, but Max Fried is definitely not the pitcher that's in the better form here. Yankees are getting the money. They're up from -167 to -180. Red Sox really kind of getting disrespected in this market here. Max Fried, Yankees, usually you're going to pay a tax. You're usually not going to get value on a Yankee game with Fried pitching, and I don't think you really are here. 70% of tickets, although 93% of the cash coming in on them, so the money does seem to be coming in on them. Going full game on that, I'm not really sure I would agree with that. I could see more of an argument again, just like last night for Yankees first 5, although obviously it would not shock me at all if the Red Sox lost this game. 55% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the over as well. Total just sitting at 8.5. Thinking that we might get a high-scoring game. It is possible with Fried not being in great form right now. Bayo could potentially give something up here, and the bullpens are both pretty used. So if you're going with the over, you're definitely going to go full game on that and factor in the bullpens there. But I don't even know if that might be the best way to play that game. I don't even know if I really have a recommendation there. Houston, Baltimore, I'm going to give out a play in this series again, which we'll get to later in the show in the best bet segment. Kansas City at Detroit. This is kind of a weird one, man. Detroit just swept Houston, but they had yesterday off. So Detroit is playing well. They do still need to win. Kansas City is in second place now. Kansas City has jumped over Cleveland here in the division again. So Detroit kind of has some motivation here to try to fend off the second place team in the division here. But Detroit might be in a letdown spot because they are coming off dominating Houston in a series. That was a big series win for Detroit there, sweeping them. But Detroit does have a rest edge because they had yesterday off. Kansas City played yesterday, and now they're traveling into Detroit. And Kansas City used most of their bullpen. They used a lot of their bullpens, even though generally I would probably say Kansas City has the better of these 2 bullpens. They used so much of their bullpen while Detroit was off. I think that kind of negates their bullpen advantage quite a bit here. So bullpens are pretty negated in this case. So Detroit does have some rest advantages, pretty big rest advantages here, and not having to travel. Starting pitching is maybe kind of a different story here. Obviously, offense, Detroit is the better offense. But yeah, starting pitching-wise here, pretty interesting here as We have Ryan Berger pitching for Kansas City. They got him over from San Diego. His numbers on the season continue to be good. 2.75 ERA, 1.13 whip. Still don't know if I'm sold on this guy, but he's been better on the road as well. 2.36 ERA. Since being acquired by Kansas City, he has a 2.7 ERA, 17-5 strikeout walk ratio in 3 starts. He's got at least 5 2/3 innings in every one of them. So he actually started going deeper into games with them as well. Even though Kansas City lost 2 of them, it wasn't really his fault because he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of them. Only good offense he faced was the Red Sox, though. And then his strikeout rate was a lot higher against Minnesota and the White Sox, who are not good offenses. Detroit will be a step up offensively from those 2 teams. So he's got to face Detroit now. Detroit has never seen him, though. So Berger does have that unfamiliarity edge there where Detroit has never seen him before. So they might have to figure him out and kind of adjust to him. So Berger, I think he may actually have the starting pitching edge here against Casey Mize. Because, you know, if you watch my show, I don't think Casey Mize is really as good as his numbers look for Detroit here. 3.63 ERA, 1.24 whip. His whip is starting to get a bit higher. He is a little bit better at home still, 3.48 ERA. He's been decent this month, 4.67 ERA, not great, but a 19-3 strikeout walk ratio, and he's only allowed 11 hits in 17 1/3 innings. That's actually pretty good, and his team has won all 3 of those games. So he is actually in decent form right now, but 2 of those games are against Minnesota. One was against Anaheim, so not exactly an offensive gauntlet, although Anaheim's an okay offense. Kansas City is also a very weak offense, though, so he does get to face a weak offense. However, his numbers are really bad against Kansas City in a big sample size of 89 at-bats. I don't know how he's this bad against Kansas City, but he is. 10-6 strikeout walk ratio, 393 batting average, 1,027 OPS. So Mize is at a starting pitching disadvantage here, man. The money, I believe, is coming in on Kansas City here, and they do kind of need the game more as far as needing to remain in the playoff hunt. Detroit's down from -160 to -142. 61% of tickets on them, 59% of the cash coming in on Kansas City. If you were going to do the Kansas City money line, I would limit it to the first 5 innings because, as I showed you, their bullpen is completely blown out. So I don't love them later in the game at all. And the Detroit with the rest edge, that probably comes into play later in the game too. So I would not really love Kansas City full game at all. I could see the argument for the starting pitching matchup being in their favor there, obviously, and going first 5 on that. But I don't want to touch it. Toronto at Miami, I'm going to give out a play on that. So I'm going to have 3 plays today, and that's going to be the last of the 3. The Mets at Atlanta. This is an interesting pitching matchup between 2 young pitchers here. Atlanta does have a rest edge because they didn't play yesterday, but they are returning home from a road trip, I believe. Oh, no, they're not. My mistake. Sorry, they returned last series. They were home against the White Sox. My mistake. Atlanta actually playing some pretty good baseball right now, man. Finally, maybe when it's too late, they finally start playing a little bit up to their potential here. Austin Riley, however, looks like he's going to be out for the rest of the season. So the Braves losing one of their better bats here in Austin Riley. So that's not going to help them really. But they have won 7 of the last 8 games, something like that. So they do have momentum right now. They did have yesterday off while the Mets had to play. The Mets lost to Washington, though. So, again, Washington could be in a bit of a letdown spot, by the way, after that win, although I don't think they're going to overlook Philadelphia. But the Mets, they might be a little bit pissed after that loss to Washington. The Mets, they got to fight to remain in the playoffs, man. I mean, they've been really, really playing some bad baseball. So as far as which of these teams is playing better recently, it's obviously Atlanta. The Mets have been awful. I mean, they've lost so many of their recent games. They did have that stretch where they won 3 games in a row, but now they've lost 2 more in a row to Washington, including yesterday. So, again, they don't have the rest edge here because they played yesterday. They got to travel in here from Washington down to Atlanta. Mets used 3 relievers yesterday. So, I mean, their bullpen still somewhat intact. I think they probably do have the better bullpen other than the fact that they're a little bit less rested here. I'd probably give the bullpen advantage to the Mets otherwise. It's only very slight, actually. It's slighter than I thought here. As you can see, very much, not much of a difference between those 2 teams ERA-wise on the season. So maybe, actually, you do have to give the bullpen edge to Atlanta because they're rested. Starting pitching, I think I'm going to give the starting pitching edge to the Mets. They got Nolan McLean on the mound, man. He's their rookie. He's made 1 start ever, and it was a pretty good one. And if you remember, I went under first 5 innings in that game, which was Mets-Mariners, and we got a good pitching performance out of both McLean and Wu in that game. McLean, obviously, he only has one start. It was a 5 1/3 inning shutout at home against Seattle, so it was good. Only gave up 2 hits. The only bad thing was he walked 4 guys. He had 8 strikeouts, so he had a nice strikeout rate in the game. McLean, he's definitely a talented young pitcher, man. So, I mean, maybe the walks were due to some, like, Major League debut jitters, too, because his numbers have been good in AAA. I think he's pretty much the real deal. I think he's good enough to be in a starting rotation at the Major League level. He just proved he can strike out Major League bats, man. Atlanta is probably a worse offense than Seattle, too, so he's stepping down in class a bit to face Atlanta here. Joey Wentz pitching for Atlanta, and I don't think he's as good as his numbers have been in his recent starts, man. He's been around for a bit. He's been a reliever for a lot of his pitching career. 4.72 ERA, 1.38 WHIP this year. Obviously, those numbers are not great. He's been really bad at home, 6.46 ERA at home, so the splits are not in his favor. Last 2 starts were good. He gave up 1 earned run apiece in each of them. 7-4 strikeout walk ratio wasn't exactly good, though. And those starts were against Miami, Cleveland, not great offenses. The Mets are obviously a much better offense. And the last time he faced a good offense, Milwaukee tagged him for 5 runs the start before that. So he might struggle in this game against the Mets. Although the Mets haven't been hitting that well recently. But Wentz does have good numbers against the Mets in 28 at-bats, 214 average allowed, 599 OPS. So they've seen him, but he's done pretty well against them in the past. So this game, we could get a decent starting pitching matchup here, man. This could be a lower scoring type of game here. I do worry about the Mets being at a bit of a rest disadvantage here. The money is coming in on Atlanta, and they're actually favored, which a lot of times, man, I've been pointing out how often the professional money comes in on Atlanta just because they're better than their record looks, which I still agree with that, but I think you still have to pick your spots to do it. But they have been playing a lot better recently since kind of that monkey is off their back, and now they can just kind of play with, no pressure basically for the rest of the season because nothing really matters. And I think a game like this is going to be one that Atlanta will show up for because it's one of the better teams in their division. They'll want to show up for it. Atlanta up from -103 to -113 on the money line. 52% of the cash on them, 74% of the tickets coming in on the Mets. So the Mets are public. Both teams obviously have a reason to play in this game. Atlanta, I mean, I could see the argument for that is obviously the rest advantage there. So if you play Atlanta, you'll be going full game on Atlanta there because I'm not sure that they have the starting pitching edge in this game. I probably prefer McLean as the starting pitcher. Money seems to be coming in on the over after it actually dropped a little bit to 8.5 juice to the over. You have 63% of tickets on the under. I don't know what public bettor is going to go to a Mets-Braves game and go with an under, though. Doesn't really make sense to me, but 60% of tickets on the over. I would probably lean to an under in this game myself because I think both starting pitchers, they do look like they could match up decently here. And the bullpen rest scenario isn't terrible really either. Neither bullpen is that bad. So I could definitely see the argument for the under more so than the over in that one. St. Louis at Tampa. St. Louis got the first game of the series. Tampa's lost 4 games in a row now. These teams are both pretty much out of it. So they're just kind of playing out the stretch here. Bullpen usage, I believe Tampa had a lot yesterday. Yeah, they used 5 relievers yesterday. St. Louis only used 3. So St. Louis, they might have a slight bullpen edge anyway, just if you look at the annual, like the stats for the entire season, basically on St. Louis. But with the bullpen rest edge, I think you got to give the bullpen edge to St. Louis in this game. Tampa probably has the better offense, especially the way St. Louis has been performing most of the time recently. Their offense hasn't been that great. Starting pitching, I probably would give Tampa Bay the edge in the starting pitching too. But we got to dig into the matchup numbers. I mean, on the surface, it looks that way. Miles Mikolas pitching for the Cardinals. He's not great. He's, just a journeyman pitcher that's kind of a control pitcher, doesn't blow guys away. 4.99 ERA, 1.3 WHIP on the season, not great. He's particularly bad on the road, 6.47 ERA, and it doesn't get really any easier in Steinbrenner Field, which we know Mikolas is kind of susceptible to the home run, and that's not a good sign coming into Steinbrenner Field here, the temporary stadium for Tampa Bay, which is a very home run conducive park. Mikolas just had an okay start against the Yankees, held them to 3 earned runs, but he walked 5 guys in that game. So that gives me a little bit of a concern as well. His recent starts against good offenses were bad against the Dodgers and the Yankees, although Tampa Bay is obviously not as good of an offense. His numbers are okay against Tampa, and 38 at-bats, 14-2 strikeout walk ratio is good, 263 average, 695 OPS. Some Mikolas doesn't really match up terribly against Tampa at the very least. Adrian Hauser pitching for Tampa. They got him right before the trade deadline. Tampa basically thought they were going to still be competing, so they went out and they got Hauser from the White Sox. He was pitching well for the White Sox. 2.67 ERA this year, although 1.29 whip is definitely indicative that his ERA should be higher than it is. He puts too many guys on base. He is actually better at home with a 1.38 ERA, but I would not really look too much into that because that was all with the White Sox. He has not pitched in this Tampa Bay stadium yet. And as I said, this is a very hitter-friendly stadium here, so he might not adapt as well to this stadium. All of his starts so far have been on the road with Tampa, and he hasn't been that great. 5.17 ERA, 13-4 strikeout walk ratio. Not too good. Gave up 5 and 4 earned runs in the starts against Anaheim and Seattle. Did have a shutout last time out at San Francisco, but that's a very weak offense. So Hauser basically has been pretty good against weak offenses this year. That's kind of been his thing. San Francisco also a pitcher-friendly park, whereas this is not going to be. Hauser does have good numbers against the Cardinals in the past zone. 63 at-bats, 17-6 strikeout walk ratio, 206 average allowed, 609 OPS. So the Cardinals are familiar with him, but they haven't hit him particularly well because I think he was on Milwaukee, right? Yeah. So the Cardinals did see him for a while up until basically last year. He was on Milwaukee for most of his career. But the Cardinals, again, even though they're familiar with him, they didn't do particularly well. So interestingly, you could see both starting pitchers actually maybe doing okay in this game. And then I think maybe a first 5-inning under might make sense here because I just don't know if we could totally trust the bullpens, especially Tampa's with their usage here. Money is coming in on the under, although it flipped up to 9 juice to the over. It's a high total of 9 because of the stadium. 82% of the tickets, 95% of the cash coming in on the under, though. I could see the first 5 under, like I said, but I would worry a little bit about that just because of the stadium and because I'm not sure that either of these pitchers is totally trustworthy. Line is up from -127 to -133 on Tampa. So money coming in on Tampa Bay a little bit there too. Minnesota at the White Sox here. White Sox, I believe, were off yesterday, but they are returning home from a road trip. They went to Kansas City and Atlanta. And, you know, I always say when a team returns home from a road trip, sometimes they're distracted. They don't do as well. So I don't think it's a particularly good spot for the White Sox here. Minnesota, even though they're not very good, I would say Minnesota, even though their bullpen stinks, even though Minnesota's offense stinks, those are both probably better than the White Sox. Minnesota, however, did play yesterday, so they have no rest. So the White Sox do have a rest edge, but gets kind of negated by the fact that they're traveling and returning home from a road trip. Minnesota is having to travel as well, though, from home out to the White Sox. But after they lost a really ugly series, they got swept by the A's. Minnesota might be more ready to go in this game. They used 3 relief pitchers yesterday, so not horrible bullpen usage for them yesterday. So Minnesota, I mean, all that being said, I think I'm probably leaning towards Minnesota here. I think they have a starting pitching edge in this game as well with Zebby Matthews on the mound here. I know his numbers don't look good. He's a young guy who's still trying to find his way. 5.06 ERA, 1.44 whip. He is worse on the road, too. 5.46 ERA, which is a little bit concerning. This month, he's been okay, though, with a 3.68 ERA, 21-6 strikeout walk ratio. Wasn't as good in his last start against Detroit. 4 walks in 4 innings, but Detroit had just seen him 2 starts prior, so Detroit was recently familiar with him, so they had a little bit of an extra matchup edge there. And he pitched twice against Detroit and once against the Yankees this month, so obviously he has not had it easy. The White Sox are a huge step down offensively from those 2 teams, so he should probably do better against the White Sox, and the White Sox have also never seen him, so the White Sox might struggle to face a pitcher they've never actually seen before. White Sox will be going with Aaron Savali here. 4.88 ERA, 1.35 whip. His numbers not terrific on the season. Really bad at home, 6.25 ERA. So the splits not in his favor here. This month, 17-5 strikeout walk ratio is not bad. He has a 6.89 ERA, but that's almost entirely because he got totally lit up by Cleveland. 3 starts in a row prior to that, he hadn't allowed any runs, and then Cleveland actually bombed them for whatever reason. I mean, Cleveland's not even a good offense. And then he bounced back with a decent start against Kansas City last time, although they're not a very good offense at all, obviously. Now they're up against the Minnesota Twins here. He does have okay numbers against the Twins in 44 at-bats, 227 batting average, but an 837 OPS is high because he's allowed 4 home runs to them, but it's basically all Buxton. 3 home runs for Buxton, but Buxton only has 4 hits and 18 at-bats against him with 7 Ks, so he hasn't even really particularly done that well against Savale, so I'll leave this game alone, especially just because I don't love Minnesota having played yesterday, and the money seems to be coming in on the White Sox, but I think I'm leaning Minnesota on the money line here. They're up from minus 125 to minus 130. 56% of tickets on them. 56% of the cash coming in on the White Sox, however. But again, even though the White Sox do have that rest edge there, I think the starting pitching is in favor of Minnesota. I think they're the better all-around team, and the White Sox are returning home from a road trip. So I could also see the argument for just going first 5 with Minnesota if you don't want to deal with their bullpen that they used a little bit yesterday, but they didn't use a whole lot of it. Cleveland at Texas. Texas played yesterday at Kansas City, and they're returning over from a road trip, and Cleveland was off, so Cleveland definitely has an advantage here situationally. But then I looked at the starting pitching matchup, and I was like, damn it, because it looked like a spot where you might want to fade Texas here because they played yesterday. They're returning home. They went to Toronto and Kansas City. Texas still has something to play for, though. I mean, I think they're still trying to vie for getting into the playoffs here, man. They're not out of it yet. Neither is Cleveland, really, although Cleveland, like I said, they sold at the trade deadline. They had all those weird gambling issues, lost a couple of their relief pitchers to suspension because of that, including their closer, Clase. So, I mean, Cleveland, it was just kind of weird that they started winning all those games. But I think they've kind of fallen back into not playing particularly well again as they've lost 5 of their last 6 games or whatever that is. So they're not playing good baseball again here. Texas probably has the motivational edge here, but again, Texas is returning home from a road trip and has a rest disadvantage here, so it is a tough spot for them. They used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Texas's bullpen is pretty good. Like, normally they're the better of these 2 bullpens, but with the rest not really helping them out there, that kind of negates their edge a little bit there. Both teams have really bad offenses. They're both really close as far as the offense. They're both bad. Slade Ciccone pitching for Cleveland. I mean, you look at the starting pitching, you got to think that Texas does have a starting pitching edge here. Slade Ciccone, not great numbers this year. I do think he's a pretty talented young pitcher still, though. 4.5 ERA this year, 1.32 whip, not great. He is better on the road, though, 3.48 ERA this year. But recent form has been pretty bad. Hasn't gone more than 4 2/3 in his last 2 starts, and it was against the White Sox in Atlanta, so not exactly great offenses, and they tagged him for 11 runs in 7 2/3 innings. He's got an 8.56 ERA this month. 13-4 strikeout walk ratio, not bad, but he's been really bad in his last 2 starts. So it gets a little bit dicey if you want to try to fade Texas here, man. He doesn't have good numbers against Texas either. It's a small 17 at-bat sample size with 353 batting average allowed, 918 OPS. So his number's not good against Texas. So that's where the handicap kind of starts falling apart here, where the situation looks like it does line up nicely for Cleveland, but I just don't see how we could really do it here with this starting pitching matchup. Nathan Eovaldi pitching for the Rangers. He's having a really good season. 1.76 ERA, 0.87 whip. I mean, I don't think that's totally sustainable because those numbers are too good, but he has been really good. He's been actually worse at home, but only a 2.26 ERA, which is still not bad at all. This month, 3.15 ERA, 15-1 strikeout walk ratio, including an 8-inning one-hit shutout against the Yankees. Faced Arizona, Toronto, so offenses that can hit. Arizona actually did well against them, but he had two good starts otherwise. They've won a bunch of his games in a row now. They've won 8 straight starts behind him now, so they're on a roll with the Eovaldi on the mound here, man. And him up against Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland is a weak offense, too, and he's done pretty well against them in the past. 65 at-bats, 11-2 strikeout walk ratio, 246 average allowed, 669 OPS. So I think this matchup, man, I think you just gotta stay away, man. Even though I think matchup-wise, oh, yeah, Ciccone, wait, what did I just do? Did I look at his numbers against Texas? Yeah, they're not good at all. I think I did look at them, right? Yeah, he's really bad against Texas. 353 batting average allowed, 918 OPS allowed. I think I already did look at that. Yeah, so the matchup numbers clearly are in favor of Texas here, but the situation, well, starting pitching at least, but the situation is in favor of Cleveland. Texas down from minus 165 to minus 145. 62% of tickets on them. 66% of the cash on Cleveland, though. So the money is coming in on Cleveland. Texas, their offense does really struggle at home. So that's one thing you do have to worry about with Texas there. The money's coming in on the under as well. 74% of tickets on the over, 78% of the cash on the under. I think the biggest thing for the under here is that you're looking at two really bad offenses. I think that's kind of the thing as far as the under. I would still worry about Ciccone a little bit, though. If you're going to go with Cleveland money line, you got to make it full game because I think that's where they have more of the edge with the bullpen rest. Starting pitching edge to me looks like it's definitely in favor of Texas. That's what I worry about there. And as far as the under, yeah, I mean, I suppose I would probably go full game with that under because you're still looking at okay bullpens or a good bullpen as far as Texas is concerned. San Francisco at the Brewers. I looked at this game and my immediate thought was the Brewers are in a letdown spot. Brewers, by the way, had this weird mozzarella stick bet not too long ago with whatever game Colin Ray was pitching because that's him there, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. The Cubs players, I mean, I guess bet that they could turn a double play with, I forget who the batter was for the Brewers, but it's a guy that does ground to shortstop a lot, and that's exactly what happened. So whatever the bet was, one of the Cubs players had to buy mozzarella sticks for, I guess they went to Iowa to do it. I don't even know, man. I don't know what's going on here because they're playing in Chicago, right? So I don't know what the deal was. But that might have been after the series finished because did they play in the afternoon yesterday? I don't even know, man. But whatever the case was, who cares? We're talking about the Brewers here. But yeah, there was a weird mozzarella stick bet with the Cubs players. You can go look it up. I think they bought mozzarella sticks for like everybody at that particular restaurant. Anyway, Milwaukee, I think Iowa is where the Cubs AAA team is, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. Milwaukee won the first game and the last game of that 5-game series, and the Cubs took the 3 middle games. So Milwaukee lost 1 game on the Cubs, but they still basically maintained their edge there. So that was a big series. Milwaukee is coming off the win over the Cubs, and they're returning home from a road trip where they went to Cincinnati and Chicago. I know going from Chicago to Milwaukee is not a big road trip, obviously. It's basically a trip up the highway, but still, it is a return home spot of a huge series against the Cubs. Milwaukee might overlook San Francisco a little bit right now because Milwaukee held serve. They have a big lead still in the division. San Francisco's pretty much out of it. So Milwaukee, I think they could be in a bit of a letdown spot here. San Francisco also, I believe, had yesterday off, but they're traveling in from the Pacific Coast. So, they played yesterday against San Diego. What am I saying? My mistake. They finished just 4-game series against San Diego, so they have no rest either. They're coming in from San Diego, but they might be in a little bit of a better spot, maybe like focus-wise, because they just lost that series to San Diego. So it might be good for them to just get out of there, refocus on baseball. So I do think the spot still lines up better for San Francisco here, situationally. Bullpen-wise, Milwaukee used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. 5, actually, but only one of them for 5 pitches. San Francisco's in the better bullpen rest spot as they only used 3 yesterday. San Francisco does still have the better bullpen, even though Milwaukee obviously has the better offense. Milwaukee, not quite as good offensively at home. So I'm starting to kind of lean towards San Francisco in this game, and you're going to get a big underdog price with them if you do like that, because we are looking at the better bullpen. Milwaukee's offense at least has less of an advantage at home. It's a bit of a worse spot for Milwaukee and what I think is a bit of a letdown. And Milwaukee does have one of their lesser starting pitchers on the mound here. For San Francisco, it's going to be a guy who we don't really know what he is yet, with Carson Wisenhunt, who is a rookie. And his numbers aren't good right now. I know, 5.02 ERA, 1.4 whip. That's not exactly good. I get that. He was better on the road, though, 1.69 ERA on the road. I know it's a very small sample, though. He's only made 3 starts, but the one on the road was against the strongest offense that he faced in the Mets. So it's a decent sign he might do better on the road, but he is walking too many guys. He's got 12 strikeouts, but 7 walks and 5 home runs allowed. So that is a concern. They sent him back to the minors, actually. He hasn't pitched since early this month, and now he's back up, getting his second try here at the major league level, and I believe Milwaukee will have never seen him before. Yeah, so Whisenhunt does at least have a little bit of an unfamiliarity edge there, although it hasn't worked out for him too much so far. Whisenhunt, by the way, I've talked about him. He doesn't really throw that hard with his fastball, but he has a really, really good changeup. So he's about fooling hitters, like basically by changing speeds and off-speed stuff. So we'll see what he can do here. He's up against Jose Quintana, who's the veteran, who I still don't think he's as good as what he's been doing this year, but he's definitely having a good season. 3.32 ERA, 1.28 whip. This Milwaukee rotation is pretty good, man. Even the guys that you expect to do bad haven't done bad, although Quintana has been worse at home, 4.43 ERA at home. This month, I know he's still been really good. 2.7 ERA, 18-4 strikeout walk ratio is really good. You usually don't see him striking out a lot of guys. He's not really a strikeout guy. He's a location pitcher who's been around forever. That's the way that he gets his job done. Up against San Francisco, his numbers are okay against San Francisco. 56 at-bats, 250 batting average, 711 OPS allowed. So he hasn't done too poorly against them. I could see the argument, though, that this is a letdown spot for Milwaukee and that you could potentially get something out of Whisenhunt here. Milwaukee is the public side, 95% of tickets, only 72% of the cash. Line dropped from minus 163 to minus 155. So the money is coming in on San Francisco. We've seen the money line, or excuse me, the total is flipped to the under at 8.5 juice to the under, but now 71% of tickets, 66% of the cash on the under. I do see some arguments for an under, though. Maybe you don't want Milwaukee's bullpen in play, but both bullpens are not that bad. The starting pitching matchup could result in some hitting disadvantages here, again, with Whisenhunt being unfamiliar, and Quintana does have decent matchup numbers. I think if you're going to play this game, San Francisco, maybe you grab them at the big underdog price in the full game, either on the run line or the money line. Leave their bullpen in the equation if you want to do that. And then I could see potentially the under might make sense as well in that game, but probably my preference would be San Francisco on the full game, like money line or run line in some way. Cubs at Anaheim. I don't know how we can really handicap this game because we've both starters, I think, are undecided in this game, at least according to pregame there. Although we do have one starter listed on ESPN right now, but I don't know, because Tyler Anderson for Anaheim, I don't know if he's actually going to pitch because he has had starts pushed back recently due to some injuries. But yeah, Cubs coming off that big series again against Milwaukee. They're going out on the road. They did lose yesterday, but they're having to travel to the Pacific Coast with no time off. So it doesn't look like a great spot for the Cubs, even though you usually are focused when you start a road trip. But you're coming off a series against the Brewers, man, your biggest rival right now in your division. So how could you possibly be focused on this interleague team that's not going anywhere in Anaheim? Cubs only used 2 relief pitchers, though, yesterday, but still, I don't really see this being a very focused spot for the Cubs, and they don't even know who their starting pitcher is going to be. Seems like they might not really care too much about this game here. Anaheim at a bit of an advantage just because they're staying at home, and I think they didn't play yesterday either, right? So there's a pretty big advantage for Anaheim here. So I wish I knew who the starting pitchers were because this could be a spot to play Anaheim. Cubs rest disadvantage. Again, having to travel to the Pacific Coast, it might throw off their biological clock playing a late game. Anaheim didn't even play, and they're not traveling. So pretty big advantage to Anaheim. But I think if Tyler Anderson is actually going to be their pitcher, I think there's no way you can play Anaheim. I'm sorry, but I just don't think you can do it. He's just not good. 4.77 ERA, 1.42 whip. He is better at home, 3.82 ERA at home. This month hasn't been good. He's allowed 4 earned runs in all 3 starts, only going 4 innings in each of the last 2. His team has lost 5 starts in a row of his. This month, 7.71 ERA, 11-8 strikeout walk ratio. Not good. And his numbers against the Cubs, who obviously have the better offense here. And the Cubs do still have the better bullpen out of these 2 teams as well. So Cubs do have some advantages here. Cubs hit Anderson pretty well in a big 127 at-bat sample size. 18-11 strikeout walk ratio, 354 average, allowed him 1,051 OPS. So Anderson doesn't do well against the Chicago Cubs. So I think if he is actually pitching, sorry, I have Gusto up there right now, but I am going to be talking about him in the Marlins game because I think he is going to be starting for them. But yeah, Anderson, if he's starting, I just don't see how you could possibly put your money on him, even though the spot looks like it's a really good spot for Anaheim. I'm sure some professional money will come in on Anaheim because you know they're going to be a home underdog here. But Anaheim, the other thing about Anaheim is still that also they're not even as good as their record looks. So really difficult to do that. Cincinnati is at Arizona. Arizona, they had yesterday off. They beat Cleveland in the last series, so they're staying at home with a little bit of momentum here, although the momentum might stop a little bit because they didn't play yesterday. Cincinnati, I believe, also was off yesterday, so 2 rested bullpens here. Cincinnati has the better bullpen. Arizona's bullpen's not good. Arizona has the better offense, despite the trades that they made. Cincinnati just lost to Anaheim, so they're coming in from Anaheim to Arizona, so the travel spot not really that bad for Cincinnati as they're in the middle of a road trip. They did just lose a 3-game win streak, but maybe they'll come out with some fire here. The starting pitching matchup actually looks decent here. Zach Littell is pitching for the Reds. Good season for him, 3.52 ERA, 1.11 whip. He's been a little bit worse on the road, but not bad, 3.76 ERA. He came over from Tampa Bay, and he's been good in 2 of his 3 starts with Cincinnati, including giving up 1 earned run in 7 innings at Chicago, at the Cubs. That's a good start. His worst start was against Pittsburgh, so go figure. Very, very bad offense. He just seemed like he probably had no focus there. And then his 2 good starts were not only against the Cubs, but also against Milwaukee. He only allowed 1 run to them, so Littell seems to just pitch better against better teams for whatever reason. In his last start with Tampa, he shut out the Yankees for 5 innings, although he walked 4 guys, but still, he seems to pitch better against better offenses, which he is facing here. 14-3 strikeout walk ratio this month with Cincinnati and a 3.06 ERA. So he's in pretty good form right now for the most part. Up against Arizona, he's got good numbers against them too. In 35 at bats, he only has 7 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 200 batting average, 594 OPS allowed. So Littell has good matchup numbers here. He's up against Ryan Nelson for Arizona, who I'm going to have to start maybe becoming, I always say this. I've been saying it all year, I guess, so now I have to become a Ryan Nelson believer to some extent here. He's better at home for whatever reason, even though it's a hitter-friendly park, but overall he's got a 3.58 ERA, 1.07 whip, but again, really good at home, 2.2 ERA. I still can't figure it out, but the numbers are what they are. He's got a pretty good 18-2 strikeout walk ratio this month. However, he's not exactly in the greatest form right now with a 5.71 ERA this month against San Diego, Texas, and then Colorado. Though Colorado, that game was at Coors Field. Maybe you give him a pass for that one, but not really much of an excuse for losing on the road to a Texas offense that really can't do a whole lot at home. So I don't know what that was. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that really, but his team has lost his last 4 appearances, so that's not very good either. Up against, who are we facing here? Cincinnati, right? The other Ohio team. So they're facing 2 Ohio teams in a row, I believe. Yeah, Arizona's facing 2 Ohio teams in a row. Against Cincinnati, he's got good numbers. It's a small 16 at-bat sample size, though, but he's held to a 188 batting average, although a 600 OPS pretty much entirely because of 4 walks compared to 3 strikeouts. So Nelson's walk numbers haven't been good, but otherwise his numbers do look good here. So for me, I think what we're looking at here is a first 5-inning under in this game because I wouldn't really want to deal with the bullpens. I don't love either bullpen, especially Arizona's, even though we do have rest at least. So if you wanted to go full game under, I mean, okay. Total's pretty high at 9 because it's a hitter-friendly park, but it's gotten some juice on the under here now. 61% of tickets and cash, both on the over. I think under is worth a look in this game. And then we have 81% of tickets, 91% of the cash on the Reds. The Reds are still trying to make the playoffs, man, so I think they have a slight motivational edge here maybe. Arizona knows that they're out of it. But Arizona is kind of they kind of realize that now, kind of like the Braves. And I think they're just realizing, well, let's just go out and let's just play baseball with no pressure. Arizona up from minus 128 to minus 129 here. Getting a lot of credit for having the better offense really here. But I don't really know that Arizona should be even that much of a favorite, even at home, though, against a team that does have a little bit more motivation, that isn't that much worse than they are. So those are my feelings on that game. And I think probably the preferred approach there is under in the first 5 there and then avoid Arizona's bullpen. Dodgers at San Diego. This is kind of a quick rematch because San Diego just played the Dodgers in LA and they got swept. So this is a bit of a quick revenge spot for San Diego here. They are staying at home. They did play yesterday, and they finished off beating San Francisco 3 out of the last 4. With a little bit of momentum here, a little bit of revenge on their mind. And San Diego's definitely better at home than on the road, and they're only 1 game behind the Dodgers. So San Diego is going to show up, although the Dodgers are going to show up here too, but I think this sets up a little bit better for San Diego this time out for all those reasons. Dodgers coming in off splitting a series with the Rockies, which isn't that great, but the Dodgers, they really haven't been playing that well over the last month or so, man. They're like well below 500 over the past month, I think, which is bizarre. Part of it because they can't beat Anaheim, but yeah, I mean, they didn't do particularly well in that Rockies series either. Now they're coming down back to the Pacific Coast out of elevation down to San Diego, so the spot is a little bit worse for the Dodgers here. San Diego has the better bullpen as well. The Dodgers have rest, though. The Dodgers didn't play yesterday, I believe, so Dodgers, of course, getting an advantage from the schedule makers here, right? Oh, no, my mistake. They did play. What am I saying? They played 4 games. Why do I keep doing that? My mistake. They played yesterday. Never mind. Both teams played yesterday. So, yes, this is a travel disadvantage for the Dodgers here. They used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. San Diego used 4, but San Diego, you got to give them the bullpen edge still. The Dodgers' bullpen's not very good. Obviously, the Dodgers have the better offense here. Starting pitching, I think you have to give the edge to the Dodgers as well. This matchup, Blake Snell on the mound here for the Dodgers. He hasn't pitched that much this season because he's been injured and he came back from injury. But when he has pitched, he's mostly been good, especially recently. 1.8 ERA, although his 1.44 whip is obviously too high. Snell is definitely a guy that walks too many guys. One concern is he hasn't been good on the road. 5.4 ERA on the road, although San Diego is a pitcher-friendly ballpark here. His only road start was at Tampa Bay, so I don't think there's a whole lot you can really even take away from that because that's a very hitter-friendly park, and San Diego isn't. San Diego did just see him, however, and he shut them out over 6 innings last time out. So he's pitched 2 straight shutouts. Has a 21-5 strikeout walk ratio this month and a 1.69 ERA, which is what Snell has done since coming back from being injured since April. So he's been quite good since coming back from injury, man. So I don't think you can really put much weight on what he did in that Tampa game. And he still wasn't even that bad. He only gave up 3 earned runs in that game. So Snell, he's on his way right now. He's pitching well. And against San Diego, he has good numbers and 106 at-bats against them. 30-12 strikeout walk ratio. Again, Snell does kind of walk too many guys, but he strikes out a lot of guys. Doesn't allow a lot of hits. 217 average against San Diego and 608 OPS. So I will give him the benefit of the matchup here. I think Snell, he's the pitcher who's in the better form right now, and he has the better matchup numbers over Yu Darvish, who is also trying to come back from injury here. Although Darvish is a little bit older, Darvish doesn't throw as hard as Snell does. Darvish is more a guy that tries to fool you with a whole bunch of different pitches that are, throwing all this off-speed stuff, trying to mess with your mind. He hasn't been that great this season so far, though. 5.79 ERA, 1.22 whip isn't as bad, though. So his whip indicates his ERA should probably be lower. He is good at home, 3.52 ERA. Again, it's a small sample size, but more of a sample size than what we have with Snell. Darvish did just face the Dodgers and didn't do well, whereas Snell did do well against San Diego. Darvish, in that same series, in a different game, gave up 4 earned runs in 4 innings, although he only walked 2 and gave up 3 hits, so he got a little bit unlucky. He gave up 2 home runs. 5 strikeouts wasn't too bad. So I will say Darvish, maybe he's not in form that is as bad as maybe it looks there, because basically everybody that reached base against him wound up scoring. Does still have a 5.14 ERA this month, though, which isn't great. 16-4 strikeout walk ratio is pretty good, though. Darvish also does have problems with the walks at times. But really, he's only had 2 actual good starts this season against San Francisco and the Mets. One at home against the Mets, so in this stadium, and the other at San Francisco. But those are pitcher-friendly parks. He is at the pitcher-friendly home park this time. Against the Dodgers, his numbers are good in the past, and 209 at-bats, so they've seen a lot of him. 50-20 strikeout walk ratio, so again, that's way too many walks, but a 196 batting average allowed and 648 OPS. So we do have pretty good numbers from Darvish against the Dodgers. So if you're just looking at the matchups and you think Darvish might be a little bit better than he looks right now, could definitely be some arguments for an under in this game. If you want to avoid the Dodgers bullpen with the under, you could go first 5 innings under. The total is at 8, so you might be able to find like a 4 in the first 5 innings if you really wanted to go that way. I worry about Darvish a little bit. I mean, even though I do think the spot sets up a little bit better for San Diego, if you go San Diego, you got to go full game on this, because I think one of their biggest advantages is the bullpen. However, if you want to focus just on the starting pitching matchup, where I do think the Dodgers have a pretty decent edge in the starting pitching matchup, you could look to go Dodgers money line first 5 innings, and I don't hate that either, which is where the money looks like it's coming in. Dodgers up from -117 to -118. You're probably not getting too much more of a heavy price on them in the starting the first 5, although I assume you have to pay more than that for the first 5 because the odds makers, of course, know the starting pitching is a bigger edge for the Dodgers and the bullpen is a disadvantage for them. 62% of tickets, 77% of the cash coming in on the Dodgers, though. So the money seems to be coming in on the Dodgers. Those are my thoughts on that game, though. I don't even know which way I would prefer to play that game, to be honest. So maybe with the starting pitching matchup, I mean, maybe it does make sense to roll with the money there and go Dodgers first 5. A's at Seattle to finish off the rundown here before I do the best bets. And then I will do NFL preseason real quick and then get out of here. I believe the A's played yesterday and Seattle did not, but Seattle is returning home from the East Coast, so that kind of negates the advantage. Seattle had a road trip where they played at Baltimore, they played at the Mets, they had to do that Little League World Series game in Pennsylvania. Then they went to Philadelphia, and now they're returning home from the Eastern time zone. So it's a bad spot for Seattle in that they're returning home from a road trip, a long road trip. And you know, when you return home from a road trip, sometimes you're not totally focused, and the A's are not exactly a team that's going to draw Seattle's focus necessarily. So it's a bad spot for Seattle, though the A's did play yesterday. And they were at Minnesota, so they're actually having to cross time zones too, and they have no rest. So the A's, they're not really in a good spot either, man. So that kind of hurts the A's a little bit as far as the advantage that they should have. They don't have the rest advantage. They only used 2 relief pitchers yesterday, but Seattle does still have the better bullpen, although the A's bullpen has been better recently, but Seattle does have the better bullpen here. The A's probably have the better offense of the two, even though both teams are decent offensively. But Seattle, if you want to fade them in the return home spot, which I do think usually it's a good idea to look that way, but with Seattle, most of their pitchers are so good at home, it's really difficult to do that, and I think it's pretty difficult to do that here. This starting pitching matchup is just completely lopsided in favor of Seattle, so I just don't think that you could really justify doing it. Luis Morales is pitching for the A's. 1.86 ERA looks good, but 1.66 whip tells a totally different story. Putting too many guys on base. I know he has a 0 ERA on the road, but he's only made 3 appearances. He's made 1 appearance with a starter's workload, going 5 innings, give up 1 earned run against Anaheim last time out, which was good, no doubt about that. But even though the A's have won all 3 of his appearances, he's got a 9-to-8 strikeout walk ratio, man. He's putting way too many guys on base, so he can't keep getting away with not allowing runs, although he is a young guy, so they do see some talent in him, so he might continue to pitch better. So he's a little bit difficult to gauge here. Seattle has never seen him before, so maybe he has a little bit of an edge there, but I don't even know how deep we're expecting him to get into this game. I still think you got to trust Brian Wu for Seattle more. Wu obviously has proven himself over a few years in the majors now. 3.02 ERA, 0.97 whip, very good. He's better at home, 2.39 ERA at home. This month, 2.37 ERA with a 26-3 strikeout walk ratio and 19 innings pitched. He's been really good this month. Not allowing more than 3 earned runs in any of those starts, 1 in 2 of the 3. Wu up against the A's. Up against the A's, good numbers in a huge 101 at-bat sample size, 26-5 strikeout walk ratio, 178 batting average, 573 OPS, so very, very good numbers. For such a big sample size to have that low of a batting average allowed to an entire lineup, that's crazy. Wu is wooing, man. He woos the A's. He seduces them and then strikes them out, basically, and rejects them. So, I mean, I don't really feel like fading. I will almost never fade Wu when he's pitching at home. So even though I know the spot isn't very good for Seattle, it's not a good spot for either team. Seattle actually is undecided on their pitcher now, it looks like. So maybe it won't be Wu. So I guess if it's like a bullpen game, you could maybe justify grabbing the A's here. Seattle's still at a -220 favorite, though. So I don't know what's going on. I hope Wu isn't hurt, though. Man, this is a difficult game to gauge, actually. Both teams in bad spots. Maybe you could maybe justify the A's if you're getting like a bullpen game out of Seattle here, but that's not going to be a game I'm going to touch at all. Let's do best bets, and then I'll close out the show with NFL preseason like I usually do because my bets are not in the preseason, although I should be doing it because almost all of my team total overs are all hitting in the preseason. Best bets, man. The first one up, Maybe you're going to think I'm crazy with this one because this is two bad offenses. We're going to go Rockies and Pirates over the 8.5 total here. This is the first game on the board here, the earliest game. Obviously, what I'm doing here is fading the starting pitching matchup. And I know both teams were off yesterday, but we're not looking at very good bullpens here, really, for the most part. I mean, I know Pittsburgh has kind of been up there with bullpen for a while, but they've trailed off again. The Rockies are the second worst bullpen in all of baseball, ERA-wise. Pittsburgh is not very good either with an ERA over 4. So we definitely have fadeable bullpens here, even though they are rested. The market read seems to be on the over. Total is sitting at 8.5, still not really moving, but 54% of tickets, 100% of the cash on the overage. I don't buy that number, but I do think that the over is justified here. Pittsburgh is a crazy favorite, up to minus 187 at home. 82% of tickets, 96% of the cash coming in on Pittsburgh. I'm not going to try to play a side here in this one, though, man. This is all about the total. Pittsburgh's staying at home, and they did just win a series against Toronto. Skeens was involved in one of those games, because of course he was in the first of the two. Colorado is starting a road trip coming in from their elevation there after playing a pretty tough series against the Dodgers, so it could be a bit of a letdown spot there, which I know sometimes when that's the case, you want to fade their hitting because the bats can be distracted. But this is a fade of the pitchers here, man. I just think these pitchers are not good at all, and that's why we're gonna go with the over. I think the total is a little bit low, even though I know Pittsburgh, they can't hit. Both these offenses are really bad. I get that, and this tends to be a pitcher-friendly park, but I think the hitters will be able to, I think, kind of tee off on these pitchers here. I mean, neither team has a whole lot to play for here. So sometimes you will see guys just kind of go out, have a little bit of fun when it's a situation like that. Senzatella pitching for the Rockies, and he's even bad by Colorado starter standards. I don't even know how he sticks in the starting rotation. 7 ERA, 1.87 whip, not good. He's basically the same home and away, so even away from Coors Field, he doesn't do well. Yes, he did have a shutout last time out against Arizona, which was solid. Still only had 2 strikeouts there, but the start before that, by the way, was against Pittsburgh, and they scored 8 runs off him in 2/3 of an inning. Unbelievably bad start. I'm not saying he's going to do that again, but Pittsburgh, as bad as their offense is, they have done well against Senzatella. They had 7 hits, 2 walks in that game, a 17-16 final. Just an insane game where I think the Rockies, but that was at Coors Field, I know. So, not high elevation there. Obviously, balls fly out of that ballpark. But still, he only gave up 1 home run, and he still got totally jacked up in that game. And then they still won the game after he was out of the game, which is unbelievable. Colorado, I think, was way behind in that game, and they wound up winning the game anyway. I think there was a one inning where both teams scored like 8 runs. I don't even know, man. And then the start before that, he was horrific as well. His team gave up 18 runs in the start before that against Baltimore, also not a good offense. He went 4 innings, he gave up 6 earned runs in that one, and that was on the road. So, I mean, he's pretty much equally bad home and away. His numbers against Pittsburgh, not just that last start, but Pittsburgh has really done damage to him in more than one start. 47 at bats worth, 4 strikeouts, 6 walks, a ridiculous 447 average, allowed him 1,212 OPS. So we're not looking at good numbers out of Senzatella here, man. And he's going up against Braxton Ashcraft for the Pirates, who has been coming out of the bullpen. And I know his numbers are decent, 3.02 ERA, 1.27 whip. I don't know if he has any relation to Graham Ashcraft, who I believe is still on the Reds and coming out of their bullpen. But Ashcraft, yes, I know his numbers are pretty good on the season, but he's worse at home. He has a 4 ERA at home, so the splits don't line up well for him. He's only gone 5 innings once in his most recent outing, and yes, I know it was against the Cubs. That was a big start, but that was his biggest start of the season. He pitched well against the Cubs, so I think he might be in a little bit of a letdown spot. And the last time he faced the Rockies, I know it was a Coors Field, but he didn't do well. He went 2 innings, gave up 3 earned runs on 5 hits, 2 walks. Probably lucky he didn't allow more runs in that one. Morons. 0 walks. Everything is shifted. Never mind. But he did give up 5 hits. He struck out 2. Never mind that. But, Ashcraft, I don't even think he's actually in really excellent form right now, although he pitched well against the Cubs. But again, that could have been one of those games where wind was blowing in as well, so that helps the pitchers. It was a low-scoring game. Again, that was his biggest start, basically, of the season. He threw his most pitches of the season. It was only 61, but still, a guy that's not used to throwing that many pitches. It could carry over into the next start, which is what I said with, like, Brandon Young yesterday coming into that Houston game, but he was coming off almost having a perfect game, so he was in a major letdown spot. But I still don't like Ashcraft here, and his numbers against the Rockies are not good, even though that was the only time they saw him. It doesn't mean that now they've seen him, so both of these starting pitchers also were just seen by these opposing offenses. So again, when that's the case, the offense has a little bit of an extra edge when they just saw the starting pitchers. On 8 at-bats, Colorado is a 375 average and 750 OPS off Ashcraft. So they've hit him around a little bit. It was basically all just that one start, but still, we'll go with the over in that one and hope that the offenses can do something in that one because they're bad offenses. But I think the pitching is just even worse, which I think matters more than what the hitting is. So that's play one. The other two plays are both going to be on starters who are coming back from injury, man, who I think are better than they look. And Houston is maybe the more dicey one. I know we're going with Houston again. We got the win with Houston last night, but I think Houston broke out of their funk, man. They finally scored runs. They scored 7 runs, but they only scored 6 over the previous 7 games, I think, or something like that. Houston, they broke out, man. They broke that bad streak that they were on. So I think that's going to propel them forward. It broke a win streak for Baltimore, and it broke a loss streak for Houston. And whenever you break a streak like that, I think that tends to continue and carry over into the next game. So that's going to affect both sides of this matchup. So I think that makes this a decent situation for Houston. Like I said yesterday, Houston's the better team all around, man. I think they have the better bullpen, even though Baltimore's bullpen has been better recently, and Houston's has actually been worse recently. Houston, remember, they lost Josh Hader, who was their closer. Don't know if he's coming back, but Houston still has good bullpen arms. They did just pick up Craig Kimbrell, by the way, so I don't know if he's going to be available, if he's going to be in the bullpen tonight. You might have to worry about him a little bit, but Houston's bullpen usage is not a whole lot. They used 3 relievers yesterday. Baltimore also used 3. Baltimore's a little bit more rested in the bullpen department, but I still think Houston has the better bullpen overall. Season numbers indicate that. Houston does have the better offense of the two teams still, as well, as bad as their offense has been recently. I still think you still have to give the hitting edge to Houston here. Baltimore's just not a good offense. And then starting pitching, I think you have to give the edge to Houston as well here, man. So I think we're getting a cheap price on Houston again here. Lance McCullers is making his comeback, and I know he's really, really struggled, man. Unfortunately, because, again, he's been really bad at home, where he's not at home today, luckily. He's dealing with another injury. He came back from Tommy John surgery, I think. So he's trying to come back from that. And then he injured his finger this year. So he's been really just not been healthy, man. That's the thing. Because if you look at his career numbers, he's obviously so much better than what he's done. He's still not that old at 31 years old. I know 6.9 ERA, 1.74 whip. Very, very bad numbers this year. But again, he's got to just stay on the field, man. And his home crowd, yelling death threats at him and stuff. They got to stop doing that, man, because, again, he's been a staple of their team for so long, and why would you do that to this guy? But he's on the road here, so he doesn't have to worry about that. He has a 2.01 ERA on the road this year, so he is much, much better on the road, away from all that bullshit. So I think that's going to help, even though I know his last start wasn't very good on the road at Seattle. Walked 3 guys, get 4 earned runs, 5 hits in 2 2/3. Did very poorly in that game. Houston was still in the game and only lost in extra innings, but I get it, but I think maybe he had something messed up with his finger. He had to go on the DL for that reason. Now he's coming back, and I think he might do better here, man. And the Orioles, only Mountcastle has ever seen him before, and he's 0 for 2 with a strikeout. So McCullers, even though he's been around for a long time, this Baltimore Oriole lineup has never actually faced him before. So I think McCullers is going to have an extra edge here against the Orioles for that reason. And yes, I know you're dealing with a guy who has to come back from injury, but I haven't looked, but he must have made some rehab starts, man. When you have a veteran like McCullers who's been around for forever, I think they tend to do better in their first game back from injury, especially you're pitching for the Astros. You're on a run to try to get into the playoffs here. You're going to be pumped up, man. So I think McCullers is going to be pumped up. I think Houston still wants to stick it to Baltimore after they got shut out in 2 of the 3 games in the prior series at home. So I think that revenge motivation is still there as well. I expect McCullers to come out with some fire here and actually pitch well in this game. And I think he has the extra edge here with Baltimore, not having seen him before. So that's good as well. So I like all that. Then Baltimore has Cade Povich pitching, who generally is the worst of these 2 pitchers. He just has never proven himself yet, man, even though I think he might be able to improve and do better, but it hasn't really happened yet. 4.98 ERA, 1.44 whip, not exactly great. He's way worse at home, so he has some huge home road split advantages with Houston here. Povich, 6.05 ERA at home, not good. He has been good recently, though. He has a 22-7 strikeout walk ratio this month, which is pretty good. It's a very high strikeout rate because, again, he had 10 against Houston last time. He gave up 3 earned runs in 5 innings, did walk 3, so that's not exactly great that he walked 3 guys in each of his last 2 outings. Striking out 10 against Houston was really good. They still almost lost that game, though. Or no, they did lose that game. Excuse me. Houston still won that game in extra innings. Povich did pitch well, but I think this is another advantage to Houston here because that means Houston just saw Povich, so they're recently familiar with him, whereas Baltimore's never seen McCullers before. So I think that's a big unfamiliarity edge for McCullers here. Povich does still have a 4.32 ERA this month, which is very mediocre, even though he is pitching a bit better for sure. His numbers against Houston, even though he had that pretty decent start against the last time out, these are still bad numbers. In 37 at-bats, 12.3 strikeout walk ratio is good, although most of that was that one start. 324 average allowed, 985 OPS allowed with 3 different hitters homering off of him. So his numbers are not good against Houston, man. So we're going to go with Houston in this game. I think they got the edge pretty much across the board in this game. The money looks like it's agreeing. Baltimore opened as a favorite, which I don't get it. I just don't get it, man. I mean, Houston is obviously the better team, and I know when something looks wrong, usually like the odds makers are not going to throw on a line that's like wrong intentionally, you know what I mean? But I just think Houston's getting undervalued in the market because of their bad recent performance. Baltimore down from -115 to -108. 64% of tickets, 81% of the cash on Houston. So we'll try to do what we did yesterday, and we'll go with Houston again today, man. Even though I think yesterday was a stronger situation, but I think the starting pitching match is very much in favor of them. You could go first 5 innings as well, but I think Houston, I'm still going to give them a bullpen edge here and an overall edge in the game. So we'll go full game. Money seems to be coming in that way. Like I said, more of the cash on them and fading Baltimore. So that's that. And then finally, we're going to have a road run line on Toronto with another pitcher who we haven't heard his name in a long time, and I think for that reason, he's going to be overlooked. I think both McCullers and Shane Bieber in this game are both going to be overlooked here. So Toronto, I mean, they were good to me last time I went with them on a run line, which I think was on the road. So let's do it again because the money line price is too high on Toronto here. So I think the way to go is the run line. You could get -1.5 runs at +105, and at least you know that because they're on the road, that means they're going to bat all 9 innings here to help pad their lead. So that's good. Toronto against Miami here is this matchup. Toronto, obviously, I think they have the edge across the board here, man, which is another reason why we're doing this. They have the better offense. I think they have the better bullpen, and they have the better starting pitcher here as well. So it's all in favor of Toronto here, man. Miami, neither of these teams played yesterday, so both teams are off yesterday, so both teams are rested. Miami, they are staying at home, so they do have a little bit of a travel edge, I guess. They're coming off a series at home against St. Louis. Toronto has something to play for, though, so that's another reason, man. The Yankees and the Red Sox not too far behind Toronto here in the AL East. Toronto's still got to keep playing, man, and Toronto's lost 3 of their last 4, and losing to Pittsburgh, I think that's going to piss them off. So I think having a day off after that, getting to just get out of there, travel, I think is actually probably helpful to Toronto. Going from Pittsburgh to Miami, not exactly a huge travel spot. So I think Toronto's going to be focused on this game, man, because they're in the hunt. They need to keep winning here. Just like Houston, I think, has a motivational edge just because they need to keep winning as well. So Toronto here as well. But as I mentioned, you got Shane Bieber pitching for Toronto, man. And we've forgotten about this guy because he hasn't pitched in the majors since early last year. Unfortunately, he got injured, and he's been on the injury list since then. I don't know if he had Tommy John surgery or what, but last year he was off to an amazing start. He went 2 6-inning shutout performances at the beginning of last year with 20 strikeouts and 1 walk. He was out of control in a good way, not in a bad way. He was not walking anybody, really. He was completely dominant in those 2 starts at the A's, not at the A's stadium, though. That was actually at Oakland in the old Oakland Coliseum, the sewage-filled stadium there. And then, which probably slows down the hitting, to be honest. And then at Seattle, which I know is a pitcher-friendly park, but Bieber, he was dominant, man. You look at his career numbers, really, really good numbers. His entire career has been with Cleveland up until now. 3.22 ERA, 1.12 whip. Everybody's forgotten about him, man. And if Toronto's going to make a playoff push here, Bieber is going to be a huge addition to their starting rotation, man, because they have Eric Lauer who's been doing really well. They got Max Scherzer in their rotation here now. Gaussman has been pretty consistent. They still have Barrios there, too. I mean, this starting pitcher rotation, really ain't bad, man, especially if Bieber's going to be back. I think he's going to be a big part of it, man. His entire career really has been really good except for his first season, which of course you can definitely excuse not doing well in your first season, you know what I mean? But he's had some injury concerns, so that's the issue. But at this point, he's a veteran too, so I think he's going to be ready to go, man. Haven't seen what his rehab starts looked like, but you know these guys rehab, they're not going to start a major league game, especially in a crucial moment of the season like this, unless the team thinks that they're going to be ready to go, man, and they're going to be able to pitch well and help their team. So I like all that for Shane Bieber here, man. I think he's going to be pumped. He gets to pitch for a contender. It's going to be his first game with his new team where he actually pitches in the majors. I think he's going to be excited about it. He's going to want to pitch well here. He gets to face a fairly weak offense as well, so that's a good sign as well. Up against Miami, I don't even know if they've ever even seen Bieber before because he's been in the AL for so long. Only two of their hitters have ever seen him before, Hill and Wiemer. It's the Weimar Republic, man. So we'll see if they have hyperinflation affecting them here, and maybe it'll be the downfall of their regime or whatever. But those guys are only 0 for 2 with 1 strikeout, 1 walk lifetime against Miami. So kind of just like with McCullers, Bieber is like completely unfamiliar to Miami. So I think that's an extra edge for Bieber. We have undecided listed as Miami's starter here, but they actually, it looks like they have listed Ryan Gusto as their starter here, which we see here, which I think is part of the reason why the line shot up on Toronto, because the betting market is not respecting Ryan Gusto. I mean, maybe I don't respect him. 4.89 ERA, 1.4 whip. Those are not good numbers. I mean, he's obviously the lesser of these two pitchers. It's not even close. He was on Houston most of the season. He's made 1 start with Miami at Atlanta. He did pitch well, went 6 innings. They lost the game anyway because he got no run support at all. Gave up 3 earned runs. 8 strikeouts was nice and 2 walks. But Gusto, I mean, he's proven that he's not... I don't know. I mean, sometimes he does have a high strikeout rate. Sometimes he doesn't. He's proven that he walks too many guys. He gives up a few too many hits, a few too many home runs. I'm not ready to say that Gusto is really necessarily any good here. And batter versus pitcher here against Toronto. He does have good numbers, but it's at a small 16 at-bat sample size, and they've at least seen him before. 188 batting average, 438 OPS. So yeah, I know I'm going to fade him here. 2 strikeouts, no walks. I will fade Gusto as far as his matchup numbers against Toronto, which he faced them this year, and he went 5 2/3, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, gave up 1 earned run at home. That was in Houston against Toronto. 3 hits allowed. So now this is actually his first home game with Miami. So kind of an interesting scenario here. Where, he hasn't pitched in this stadium yet this year. So we'll see how he does. I don't know if the nerves are going to get to him first time pitching at home here. But again, I think the motivation is all on Toronto's side. The money has come in on Toronto, even though they're going to be public. They're one of those public road favorites here, which usually I don't like to play. 86% of tickets, 94% of the cash on them. But the line has moved up from minus 133 to minus 160 on them. I think Toronto has to be the right way to go here. I mean, Shane Bieber coming back is definitely an exciting thing for them. Totals dropped from 8.5 to 8, so do what you will with that information. So it seems like money coming in on the under as well. 94% of tickets, only 78% of the cash coming in on the over. So you do have rested bullpens. The movement towards the under kind of saying they think maybe both starters might actually do well, which I could see that. I'm not going to disagree with the under in this one because I do think Gusto could also pitch well, but I just think Toronto has the edge across the board. I think Bieber is the much better pitcher. I think it's a better spot. He has the unfamiliarity. Toronto's got the better offense and better bullpen. So that's where we're going there. And let's finish it off with some NFL preseason talk real quick here. We have 4 games tonight. Some NFL preseason on a Friday before we get into the actual season here. Eagles, Jets. It's very weird to see the Jets being favored up from -1 to -2 here at the Meadowlands. Jets, I think, played as the road team in the Meadowlands the last time they were here against the Giants. So the Jets, I think, might not even be traveling. They're just staying here. So that might be part of the reason why the money seems to be coming in on them. 52% of tickets, 69% of the cash on the Jets. You know what this means that the Eagles are not playing their starters, man. I mean, there's no reason to do it if you're the Eagles. Although you might get off to a slow start early in the season, but you don't want to get your guys hurt. I mean, there are definitely some conflicting, there are coaches that disagree on that and that have feelings one way or the other about it. Like, personally, I think I would try to get my starters into the game a little bit just to get them a game under their belt, because you don't like your best players to come in completely cold in the first game of a season where you only have 17 games in the season, you know what I mean? But I don't think we're going to see Hurts or Barkley here. We don't want to get them hurt. The Jets, I believe the Jets are not going to play Justin Fields in this game either. So you're going to see all backups here for both teams here. With Philadelphia, it's going to be Tanner McKee, Kyle McCord, and then I forget who else they even have. But their depth, I mean, they have decent experience, I guess. Oh, yeah, DTR. Not a fan of him. I mean, McKee, I don't know if he's playing because he's questionable, so you might see mostly DTR and McCord. McCord, they want to get him some playing time because he's a rookie that they drafted. DTR has experience, but I mean, it's bad experience. I mean, he hasn't been good, so that might be part of the reason why the Jets are favored too, because that rotation really seems bad. The Jets have Tyrod Taylor, but he's questionable as well, so I don't know if you're going to see him either. So for the Jets, you might see Adrian Martinez and Brady Cook. That looks like some bad quarterbacking there too. So this total is way, way down from a key 37.5 all the way down to 33, juice to the over. 37 is a key number on the total, man, and so is 34. But I think if you're looking at this and saying, oh my God, these quarterback rotations are awful, and the money seems to be agreeing that we think this is going to be a lower scoring game. If you can find a 34 and go under that, maybe that's the way to look in this game, but it's a little bit dicey probably. 80% of tickets, 79% of the cash on the over, and I know a lot of these games have gone over in the preseason here, but we're in preseason week 3 now. A little bit of a different story here. I just think we have bad quarterback rotations in this matchup now that I dig into it a little bit further, and the public is only coming in on the over here because they don't realize we're getting third and fourth string quarterbacks in this one. And these teams do still have to decide who makes the final roster too. Falcons at the Cowboys. I think Falcons, you got to think they probably should still have Penix in there because he is their young guy. They probably want to get him some playing time there still. I don't know if he's even going to play in this game, though. It seems like because the Cowboys are favored, we might not get any Penix. We're not going to get any Penix in this game here. Cowboys up from 1.5 to 2.5. The Cowboys probably a little bit motivated to try to win one here in Jerry World under Schottenheimer because they didn't get it done against the Ravens last time out, which I thought they would be able to. The Cowboys have Joe Milton III. He's going to be playing here, which I've mentioned. I think he's a talented quarterback, and they want to get him some playing time. I think he could potentially go out there and do well. With Atlanta, I don't even know who else they have beyond Michael Penix, to be honest, man. They still have Kirk Cousins, who I guess is the backup, but he's a guy that I don't think is really going to play in preseason. There's no real need. He's a veteran. I don't think he needs to get out there, so you're probably going to get a lot of Easton Stick again for Atlanta, and then I don't even know who Ben DiNucci is, but Easton Stick does have experience as well. He's definitely played in the NFL, as I've mentioned, for the Cardinals when Herbert was hurt, and he actually hasn't been that bad. So, I mean, this game, I mean, if you do like Dallas, it does get a little bit dicey, man, because it's Joe Milton against those guys. Doesn't seem like it's a huge advantage for Dallas. Obviously, Dak Prescott won't be playing for Dallas. Will Greer is their other quarterback and might get into the mix. Minnesota at Tennessee. This one's going to be interesting. Tennessee is all the way up to a 5-point favorite now from being initially a 1.5-point underdog. It looks like that's probably because Minnesota is deciding not to play anybody, although you'd think they would get J.J. McCarthy more this is going to be his first season because he missed all of last season with an injury. You got to think the Vikings might want to get him out there and get him a little more playing time, even though obviously you don't want to get him hurt, but it's bizarre to see Tennessee that much of a favorite. Cam Ward will be out there for a bit for sure. Tennessee is going to play him, which is what that number is indicating. So I think if you're going to play this game, I think it would have to be Tennessee over their team total. Again, it's one of those types of games. The total's sitting at 37 here. 65% of tickets, 90% of the cash on the over. We have 71% of the cash on Tennessee and 54% of tickets on Minnesota. Again, I'm thinking, yeah, if you go with this game, I'm thinking you probably just go over the Tennessee team total. I don't think you can lay a price like this. Just go with Tennessee to have Cam Ward out there and score some points for the most part. There is probably what you're going to get there. As far as the quarterback depth, I don't even know what exactly we're looking at for backups. Minnesota has Sam Howell, who does at least have experience, although he's not very good. Brett Rippon is there. I mean, he's also had some experience. I don't even know who Max Brosmer is, so that's what they got going on there. They have some experienced quarterbacks there, though, for Minnesota, so maybe that 5 line is a little bit too high. And then Tennessee, They got Brandon Allen and Trevor Siemian, Will Levis on the IR. Siemian has definitely played a bit. He's started in the NFL before, so he does have experience, even though he hasn't been that good. I think he was on the Jets for a while. He made some starts there, which didn't go too well. Brandon Allen, I think, has made some starts in the NFL as well. So a little bit of experience on both sides. And then Bears at the Chiefs, because the Chiefs at Arrowhead are down from 3 to 1.5 here. Obviously, Mahomes is not going to be in this game. The Chiefs have no need to play him. Bears have been playing their starters. I think Caleb Williams will probably get some more time in this game. They want to get him more playing time there, most likely. Tyson Bagent, the Bears' backup, I think he's better than Caleb Williams, man. He gets all this shit because he's a D2 quarterback, but they just signed him to a contract extension for a couple of years. I think Bagent maybe should be starting somewhere, even including maybe for the Bears, because I actually think Bagent is good. You know me, I have it on record. I don't think Caleb Williams is that good. I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. I like Bagent, though, despite the D2 stuff. I mean, he has a pedigree, man, because Bagent's father is one of the best arm wrestlers in history. So Bagent, he's got that strength in his family history, man. Good genetics for Bagent. But Bagent probably will be in this game as well, and he's got decent experience as well at this point. So that is why the line is moving towards the Bears. This total has gone way up from 38.5 to 42. Totals moved too far, too, but you might still be able to find some way to play the Bears, maybe on their team total. You could go with the Bears because they are going to have the better quarterback rotation in this game. So that's probably the way that I would look there with the Bears. And the Bears, I believe, still have Austin Reed. They have Case Keenum, but I don't think he's gotten into any of these games because he's been hurt, but he's definitely a veteran with a lot of experience, including he was the quarterback who threw that famous pass where I had money on the game on the Vikings where they blew the lead and came back and won on that ridiculous Diggs touchdown to beat the Saints in the playoffs. I was on a plane when it happened, watching it on the plane, and everybody on the plane was rooting for New Orleans, and I was like, sorry, I just won money on that Hail Mary, baby, which it should have been a way easier win. Minnesota had blown the game, but that was Case Keenum in that game. So he definitely has experience. And then Austin Reed at this point has decent experience, at least playing in preseason, because he's been around for a while on this Bears roster as well. So their quarterback depth chart is actually fairly solid for preseason. And then Kansas City, I mean, they got Gardner Minshew and Bailey Zappi. I mean, they've had some playing time there. Zappi, I think, was out there for the Patriots. Is that where he was? And then Minshew has been around. I like Minshew, man. I mean, he's been around with the Eagles, the Colts. He's made a lot of starts. He's an experienced quarterback. So if he's in there, I mean, I think that's why the total is so high. I mean, both teams actually have pretty decent quarterback depth here. So I could see an argument for just going over on the full game, but you've lost some value on that as it's crossed through 41, which I think is another key number. 74% of tickets, 94% of the cash on the over, but I would still probably only look to the over there. Probably full game, actually, more so than just Bears team total, but Bears team total doesn't seem that bad either. Anyway, that's going to do it, man. An hour and a half. I thought I was going to go closer to a little bit over an hour today, but that's going to do it. My plays one more time. Over in Rockies Pirates, over the 8.5. Houston Astros money line. Toronto Blue Jays run line. Let's get it done. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Short betting content that I post there. Bettor Off Dead, obviously. Like, subscribe to the channel. Give me comments, etc. On Spotify and audio, the audio platforms as well, Apple as well, so you can go rate the show over there. Give me a good review, baby. And then Covered in Uke, my Uke project on YouTube is there as well. Patreon.com/LearnToToad. You can get some bonus Uke content as well, so go check all that out. Thanks again, and I will actually be returning to the Stu Peters show, I believe. We're going to record that today, so you can go find that. It might be live as well. So I think that's going to be in about an hour, so go look forward to that as well. Tonight, I'll be back and do a college football week 0 video. I don't even know if it's worth it to do a standalone week 0, but I did do it last year. It'll be a shorter video for sure, but I believe just to satisfy you guys, I'll give out one play. I'll be a good lover, and I will give out one play on one of the games. That's going to do it. Everybody have a good Friday. Kick off the weekend right, and peace.